Hi everyone, well, I'm back again, and actually I got a request here for a video, so I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it based on mine and Nicole's personal experience, and the title of the video is going to be Twin Flames, the Gathering of Soul Fragments. Now, when somebody says gathering of soul fragments in some people's definition can be something that has separated from somebody that has gone through a trauma, and they have to get back something that has been separated from them. For example, to me, a soul fragment is, say, for example, a person had been sexually abused and a piece of them actually separated from the body during the actual abuse. That would be, to me, a soul fragment. I think what the party was asking me about was a soul extension, if I can put it that way. At least that's my understanding of it. So I'm going to do this video based on the fact of soul extensions and the gathering of these soul extensions, if I can put it that way. Hopefully we'll do it right. The other thing that I'm noticing with a lot of people who do talk about soul extensions or soul fragments, there seems to be a little difference of opinion here, is I seem to get the impression from a lot of people who talk about this that all of their soul fragments or soul extensions seem to be in some way a drag on them, as if they have to do a lot of work with these soul fragments, that the soul fragments are lesser than them in many cases. And I have to say my experience and Nicole's experience have been totally different. I did do a video on this some time back, but things have changed since then. And I personally believe that when volunteers are coming back in, you want to call us twin flames, or if you want to call us whatever, doesn't matter. Because I believe that what would be the point of a volunteer who is a graduate, who has finished all earthly ties and whatever else is necessary, what would be the point of just coming back as, say, two individuals, a male and a female? Why not, if you're coming back, manifest additional embodiments, not necessarily all in the physical, but why not in different timelines, different realities, different dimensions, and have a dozen? Why not have 24? Why not have 144 in that perspective, depending upon the individual desires and needs that an individual wants to experience? The issue here is there are many people who still see the word soul, and they see the word soul as being the body physical that they live in. That's the only expression of their soul, just you, the body. It's a very limited perception of it. So when Nicole and I started experiencing these, and I'm going to call them soul extensions, I believe that's the appropriate word for me, what happened is we started experiencing them as full-blown lifelines that are manifesting to us in the now. And some of these were considered in what some would call the past, and some of them overlapped with each other that we experienced, and some of them, not a great many of them, but in both cases for myself and Nicole, existed in the future, where we saw technology that we don't see here. For example, we experienced realities, for example, where there are no hydrolines anymore. You have lighting and heating devices of globes that can be moved around wherever you need them in your residence. And the residences are non-plastic. There's no plastic in the realities that we experience. It's not allowed in that perspective at all. And we have experienced means of locomotion or movement where there are no vehicles at all anymore. Movement is simply done by the power of thought, by location, if you want to call it that. And with some of these extensions of self, we realized that quite a few of them were gaining a lot of knowledge that we didn't have. And some of them, in these different timelines, as we are here, do take on the belief systems or the templates or the patterns of those different timelines and realities, obviously. So what happens is, for a short period of time, what happened, Nicole and I did, and I guess we'd have to say, without sounding egotistical here, we started taking on some of the mental and emotional conditions and physical conditions of some of these extensions that were not ours. And we picked up on it right away. And we knew that we were doing some clearing for a whole group of individuals. However, what has also happened is, based on the fact, and again, you have to start thinking here in terms of multidimensionalism, if I can put it that way, to actually grasp the concept. And I want to make mention here of this too before I forget. The idea of soul extensions, or what some calling soul fragments, is not unique to twin flames or volunteers returning or whatever. There are many individuals on the planet who have and are in the same situation, depending on what dimension or timeline that they come from. The other thing we're all going to have to start learning here very shortly is we're not all from the same source, if you want to put it that way. We're not all from the same planetary bodies, and we're not all from the same dimensions. This is a multicultural society on this planet, believe me. Even though we are that with different races and different cultures, we are definitely coming from different places and points of origin. I can assure you of that. So there's a unique potpourri of consciousness here on the planet. So situations are different for some than they are for others, depending upon what beings of origin that they come from. So in other words, when we started experiencing these symptoms, we knew what was going on, and we just went with the flow of it, and it passed through very quickly. Now it's gotten to the point where we are both, Nicole is much more proficient than I am, has the ability to be able to literally jump into the bodies of some of these other people and live the lives that they're living, see what they're seeing, taste what they're tasting, feel what they're feeling. And I can assure you, you definitely want to be more open and evolved to be able to do this. This is not for the weak and the meek of mind and spirit, I can assure you, because Nicole has informed me that on a few occasions she found it very difficult to actually remember who she was to get back to where she was supposed to be in her original body at this particular point. So the soul fragments, or soul extensions, have a multifold purpose in that they're all there for progressive growth. They're not there as something that needs to be absorbed as a negative part of self that needs to be brought in. I totally disagree with that particular type of a concept. If you are aware of them, and in my experience, all of them are positive expressions of self in different dimensions and realities. The thing with clearing some of their conditions that are going on is because we live in a different reality, we can do things here that they can't do there. And they can do things there that we can't do here. So if you think you're doing all of the work for them, you're not. They're actually doing a lot of work for you. A great many of you are coming into contact with what you think are beings or aliens or extraterrestrials in that particular perspective, and you don't realize yet they're actually you, an extension of you, but in a different timeline, a different dimension, a different race, a different culture, whatever you want to call it. You're just not aware of it yet. And you're not aware of it probably because you're not ready to grasp the concept that you is a much bigger picture than what you think it is at this particular point in time. And as you begin to wake up, you understand that you are a very important piece in a very big cog of you, which you might want to call a multidimensional being. So this is the concept that a lot of us are now beginning to tap into at this particular point. And again, I want to emphasize this is not just for twin flames. This can happen anywhere in our society to anyone, depending upon who and what and where they are in their evolutionary process. And as we move more and more away into multidimensional realities and getting in contact with these fragments, what will happen is it will actually give us assistance in what some people like to call the ascension process, because in essence what's happening is some of these soul extensions are also going through the ascension process in the timeline or the dimension that they're experiencing. It's not all about you. You is in different realities simultaneously at the same time. So the other thing that I suggest to individuals here, and I know I did a video of this on the past, is a lot of us really need to take a refresh on this concept that we have of being an individual. The last thing anyone on this planet is an individual. There's no such thing as individuality in a multidimensional being, all right? It doesn't exist. And the sooner some of us get accustomed to the idea of stop seeing ourselves as an individual, we will be more comfortable with soul extensions and being aware of those realities, because as long as you see yourself as an individual and you pull out your wallet, you see your driver's license and there's it's me, okay, Jane Doe or Jack Smith or whatever, that's not who you are. That's just identifies the body that you're walking around in here now. That doesn't identify you at a multidimensional level. And as you begin to let go of the individuality and the importance that most of us accredit it with, and let me put out something else here just for the moment here. Individuality is nothing more than a belief system. Because when you were born into the world and you became aware, you didn't become aware you were an individual till your parents taught you that you were an individual. And then as you went through the system of life, you were taught more and more about individuality. That's why you have to have different clothes than everyone else does. You have to look different than everyone else does. And you have to buy things different than everyone else does, because you're an individual. Individuals are consumers. Consumers are individuals. As long as we have the concept of individuality, we're continually going to have this segment in our belief we're going to have to be different than everybody else. That's what individuality does. But individuality doesn't fit in a multidimensional individual who has created other extensions of itself to complete the journey that is coming in. Imagine this. If you have, for example, a soul extension, and as you view the soul extension is not experiencing a positive creative life as you see it or experienced it, that's only your opinion of it. That is exactly originally what you, as an oversoul higher self, actually wanted to experience. Just because you see it as being negative does not mean it's so. It means that a negative life can be a very positive influence to the overall group multidimensional self. Because in experiencing that particular sojourn that you're viewing as being negative, you can gain experience that you don't have to experience anymore. And you can gain more from it by adding to the information of the overall experience as a multidimensional being. You see, I can talk about this real easy because I caught the bus, all right? And some of you need to run up and catch the bus here. And this is what's going on with the soul extension type of situation. If you're seeing it as you're having to assist your soul extensions, stop doing it. Don't do it anymore. Nobody asked you. They didn't ask you to assist them. So why do it? You're assisting them because you may be seeing them as being a negative experience, and you have to. If, in the case where Nicole and I were taking on the symptoms of what they were experiencing, it was an exchange. Something from them for something from us. Something to be gained from all. Look at it another way. When you're talking about a unified field of consciousness between two individuals, a relationship, what is it? It is a multidimensional reality created by two people. This is not rocket science, folks. Melanator will make it as simple as possible without being, egotistical or condescending, as some people like to say that I might be. I'm not condescending. I present it as I would to anybody else. So when you look at the soul extensions in that light, all of the soul extensions that you have, all of the pieces are coming into play, are contributing to you here in the physical reality, to your evolution, believe it or not, and to the evolution of every one of them that you've put in. So what has happened is, if we have 50 million people, I'm just a guesstimate here, 50 million people on the planet who have come in and have created innumerable amount of soul extensions or soul fragments, if you want to call them that, and we're gaining additional experience, what are we doing? We're speeding up the process of evolution for everyone in every different dimension. Even if in some dimension, the people there might be dying and killing each other, it is, in a sense, a positive thing, because ultimately it's creating the outcome of the consciousness of reality that's going to become multidimensional. The same thing's here in physical reality. Take a look at the world around us. All right? It's not in a pretty state in a lot of cases. We're on the cusp now of completely polluting our oceans. All right? Nobody believes it possible. Okay? And we're at the point now where we can't feed the people on the planet because we're almost overpopulated, and the overpopulation is causing climate change. So changes have to be made. So what's going to happen? So we're going to have crises and chaos manifest to change the consciousness of our reality, so we think differently about the planet and other people and what we're bringing into the world. All of this has changed. It's all happening in an orderly fashion, but it's seen as chaos by a lot of people, and I don't see it that way. I see it as evolution, and it has a flow to it, and this is what's happened. So the soul extension fits into the picture, and the soul extensions that you have are adding to the process by being positive no matter how you view it. If you look at your soul extension, they see what you're doing, okay, and they can see us as we can see them. They can see us. They look at what you're doing, and they're saying, oh, geez, look at this, look at this. Another one, obsessed with the friggin' twin flame obsession. Completely lost the mission, completely lost the idea of what they're supposed to be doing, running around with their hand hanging under their arm, looking for their twin flame, gotta find the twin flame, gotta be in the burbs with the twin flame, gotta be in love. Oh, gee whiz. Just kidding. Take a little dig there just to kind of motivate the troops a little bit. But this is what I'm talking about. So it's going back and forth in a multidimensional state. That's my experience of it, and that's Nicole's experience of it, and that's the experience that we've come across with other people. That even if you're seeing something that looks to be negative from your perception, I can assure you 6 months from now, when we evolve a little bit more further than we are now, and you become more self-aware, if you look back on the experience that you thought was negative, you may see it differently as being positive in that sense. So it's all going according to plan. But the plan is not you, all right? I mention this a lot of times to people when I'm counseling them, just as a thing here, is too many people think that they're in control of their lives. They want it to go their way, and they want to live their life the way they want to live it. You know what? None of us have had control of our lives since the day we were born, all right? Here in Canada, every time a baby is born, it carries $25,000 debt as it's born into the world. That's what we're told. Can you believe that? How's that for control? You just arrived and you owe $25,000 to the government already. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, in the States, it's got to be even more, all right? So control and individuality is a fallacy. It doesn't exist in that perspective. What we have here is a very three-dimensional view of what's going on. The big view is all of you in the different parts and the pieces. And you can incorporate all of the knowledge, all of the experience that all of those soul extensions have. You can access it. And some of them have some pretty incredible talents available at your disposal. What do you think? I think it's fun. Have a great day, everyone.